Hello and welcome. This is Matthias 76. Together, we are decoding the deception, and we are continuing here in the portion of the book of Revelation, which is the 7 trumpets. We have these sets of 7. We are at the 5th trumpet presently. That's the trumpet is the thumbnail on the screen depicts. It is the angel blowing the 5th trumpet and this black smoke and more coming up out of the great abyss. In the text, they call it bottomless pit. We will talk about that, but I found this graphic and I thought it does a good job of encapsulating what the text talks about. As we get ready to go into this section, I do want to take a look at the last verse of the last section, because it's very important that we understand this in its proper context. We've had 4 trumpets, and those 4 trumpets, it is my contention, though with all of this, with the book of Revelation, I think more than anything else, we have to be open to the possibility that as events unfold, we might see some of these things differently or more fully. It's hard to say. It is, I believe, and we have discussed, why the Lord chooses to use this picture imagery, these illustrations that can have varied and differing interpretations or understandings as time goes along. But the last verse that we studied was, "Then I looked and heard an eagle crying with a loud voice as it flew directly overhead, 'Woe, woe, woe to those who dwell on the earth at the blasts of the other trumpets that the 3 angels are about to blow.'" This is very important for us to understand. It gives key information for the proper interpretation or understanding as best we can for the sections that are to come, and specifically this triple woe, 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 to those who dwell on the earth. If we go and look, and we can see all the passages here, I'll put it here where you can, if you want, go and look at all of these references just in the book of Revelation. All of the times that in the book of Revelation it talks about those who dwell on the earth, it is talking about those who are lost. It is talking about those who have rejected Jesus Christ, who do not wish to have him as their Lord, and therefore are actively warring against him. But that is consistent with all of these different Bible references. So, that being the case, and we need consistency, right? We can't say it's something if, well, here and then there, it means something else, okay? That is not a sound way to interpret the scriptures. We can't pick and choose. It either always is or it isn't, okay? With this, those who dwell on the earth is always talking about unbelievers, the lost. Key, important. Now, that being said, we're going to talk about the 5th angel blowing the trumpet. We're looking at a woe that is directed toward those who are not believers. And the 5th angel blew his trumpet, and I saw a star fallen from heaven to earth, and he was given the key to the shaft of the bottomless pit. He opened the shaft of the bottomless pit, and from the shaft rose smoke like the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened with the smoke from the shaft. We're going to continue on. Then from the smoke came locusts on the earth, and they were given power, like the power of scorpions of the earth. They were told not to harm the grass of the earth or any green plant or any tree, but only those people who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. They were allowed to torment them for 5 months, but not to kill them. And their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it stings someone. And in those days, people will seek death and will not find it. They will long to die, but death will flee from them. There is just so much here for us to unpack and seek to understand. Very, very many layers of things here for us to work through. So again, with this concept, when I get that image back up here, God could have just done this without having it be with seals and trumpets and bowls and all these things. The angel, God's messenger, part of his council, part of his host, the angel, the 7 angels blowing the trumpets are a reminder that God is over all of this, okay? It's very complex in our understanding of that, and I don't want to delve back into that right now, but God is over all of this. Yes, there are horrible, awful things that we are seeing here. God is still God. God never stops being God. Maybe that's just the best way to put it. He is over it all. And I will say, and we'll see in these things directed, especially in the 5th and 6th trumpets, part of God's hope through all of this is that some will be saved. But the 5th angel blew his trumpet, and I saw a star fallen from heaven to earth, and he was given the shaft, the key of the bottomless, he was given the key to the shaft of the bottomless pit. Okay, we've got this star fallen from heaven. When you hear star, and when the people in Ephesus heard star, they didn't think of the same thing. It's a different knowledge base that they're operating with. In the world, in the time of the Bible, they understood stars to be spiritual entities. They represented spiritual entities. Why do you think planets' names came to be the names of the gods? Okay. And I'll say, just because I can't help myself, I don't really know that I trust anything that what we're told about what's out there. I don't trust the people who do it. NASA, it's never a straight story. When I hear something, never a straight answer. Sorry, NASA, never a straight answer. When I hear these things from them, I always question it. I doubt it. That's not the point of today's discussion. But there was a star. This star we can find being talked about. It is a theme in Scripture, and we're going to start with Isaiah 14:12. Go read Isaiah 14. It starts off talking about the king of Babylon, but then it switches. It switches to the one the king of Babylon is serving and who he is emulating, imitating, impersonating in his behaviors. But verse 12 of chapter 14 of Isaiah, how you are fallen from heaven, O day star, son of dawn, how you were cut down to the ground, you who laid the nations low. You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven above the stars of God. I will set my throne on high. I will sit on the mount of assembly in the far reaches of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High, but you were brought down to Sheol, to the far reaches of the pit, the abyss, the bottomless pit. We see clearly here the rebellion of Satan encapsulated and put into perspective, and he's called O Day Star, and do not forget his name is Lucifer, light bringer. O Day Star, son of dawn. He was a high-ranking angel up there, part of the heavenly host, up there with Gabriel and the like. Luke 10:18, and he said to them, this is when the disciples came back from their mission being sent out, the 72, and he said to them, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Satan cast down. This picture, the saving news of the gospel, the saving work of Jesus Christ casts Satan down. Let's go right to Revelation 12, verse 9, and this is in the visions, the 7 visions, which come after the 7 trumpets, and the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him, and I heard a loud voice in heaven. Okay, now the salvation of God and power and kingdom, all those things are the Lord's. Satan being cast down to earth. It is a recurring theme. In Revelation 12, it goes on to say, woe to you on the earth, because now he's down there. Okay? Woe to you. Scary, scary stuff. Before we go any farther, I want to make sure that we see who it is, this torment, awful stuff that results from all of this. Whom does it affect? Only those people who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. Remember them being marked and said, not them, leave them alone. We see that in the Old Testament as well. This torment that is being described here, however we're going to interpret it, understand it, and pull its meaning out of this complex text, it doesn't apply to the people who have the seal of God on their foreheads, those who he has marked and said, mine. This torment doesn't apply to them. So Satan is thrown down to earth, and he's given the key to the shaft of the bottomless pit. I really wish that translators would translate things consistently. This word is the abyss. The abyss. Where were the demons that Jesus cast out, the legion of demons? Where did they want to go? And they begged him not to command them to depart into the abyss. It is the place of the dead. It is the place where the evil entities are, where they are contained. Okay, we've got this complex thing. Satan is given the key to the bottomless pit, and he opened the shaft of the bottomless pit, and smoke arose like the smoke of a great furnace. Want to make sure and talk about how we understand Satan, his power, his freedom, and his containment. What restrains him? What holds him back? So we've got this image, and I think it effective to illustrate all of this. This represents Satan, the beast, whatever you want to call him, and he is chained. He's chained, constrained, limited in what he can do. The scriptures teach that it is the gospel, the proclamation of his word. What had the 72 gone out to proclaim when Jesus said he saw Satan falling like lightning from the sky? The gospel. Satan cannot stand in the face of the gospel. One little word and he goes fleeing. That's Jesus. Can't stand to hear it. It is repugnant to him. It repels him. Okay? The power of the gospel being preached and proclaimed in this world is this chain that constrains Satan. I got a question for you, and some of you are old enough to remember this, or maybe you live in places where it still goes on. It's not part of the world today, and younger people may not be familiar with it other than images. When I was a kid, and yeah, look at the picture up in the corner, that white-haired old man, long, long ago, when I was a kid, there were all kinds of houses that had big old dogs in the backyard. Big old German Shepherds, Dobermans, just big, ugly, scary mutts. This is back before the days where pit bulls were all over the place. Nobody even knew what a pit bull was. They were called Staffordshire Terriers. A chained dog. And there would be no grass around where his house was or the tree. And that chain, literally a chain, and that poor animal stuck outside all the time. That's why it doesn't go on anymore. It's considered cruelty to animals, and I agree. Is a chained, big, tough chained dog still dangerous? Yeah. Yeah, you could know how close you could get to it because you could see where the chain allowed it to go, but still at the same time, taunting a dog chained to a doghouse that's desiring to devour you isn't really smart because he just might bust that chain. The chain might come broken, like in this illustration here. Do you see these cracks over here? He's really pulling at it. It might pop loose. Think of Foghorn Leghorn and the dog also, if you're my age and remember those cartoons. Sometimes the chain breaks or has been disconnected. The chain is the gospel, the preaching of God's word. It restrains him when he has his way, to the degree that he has his way, because remember, he's a chained dog but he's still a dangerous dog. He still has power. That smoke is still coming from the bottomless pit. And we're going to talk about it. Well, let's talk about it now. That smoke, and I think that this interpretation of this section, it all holds together, right? That smoke is the obscuring of the gospel. Smoke hides the light. And I believe this section with the fifth trumpet is talking about false religions, the false religions that predominate in this world, that go out in this world, all emanating from whom? Who comes up with all the false religions in this world? This guy does. Satan does. Our depiction of him here. Satan comes up with all the false religions, and it's very easy. A logical examination makes it very easy for us to determine that they all have at their core the same idea. I don't care if it's Catholicism with what's called the sacerdotal system, the 7 sacraments, and I don't care if it's Buddhism, Hinduism, Mormonism, Taoism, Taoism, all of them, on and on and on and on and on. It's about you saving yourself. We call that works righteousness. Satan takes the same lie, the same one that he told Adam and Eve. You don't need God. You can do it yourself. You will be like God. And he packages it in different ways to suit his purposes, because he knows all you have to do is write new and improved on the package and set it on the shelf at Walmart, and everybody will at least stop and look. Why? Why wouldn't I? It's new and improved. Wow. Oftentimes it's not improved at all, and it's not really new. And so it is with false religions. They just come out in a cloud, all these different variants of it, and they all teach the same thing, that you save yourself. And they all have the same pernicious component to them. You can't know if you've been good enough. You can't know. It's unsure. It's uncertain, ergo the torment that's discussed later. Okay? But the picture here is, even being contained, Satan is doing everything through these false religions and also through the governments of the world and other things. What is the universal constant with everything in this world? Everything that is of the world, of the people of the earth, as we discussed earlier. I don't care if it's these religions. I don't care if it's entertainment. I don't care if it's governments, all of which are part of the beast that comes out of the sea, beckoned by this guy as he stands on the sand of the shore of the sea and calls it forth, seeking to destroy the church. They all hate Jesus. They all put it down. They all try to obscure it, belittle it, outlaw it, persecute it. It's the universal constant. It's the one thing that it's okay to hate. It's the one thing about which, you can't say anything insulting and have it considered insulting. Try that with other religions. Try it with a religion that uses a blue star as its logo. The President of the United States wants to make that illegal. Anyway, it is a universal. They all hate the gospel. They all fight against the gospel, and it all comes from the same abyss. Abyss. The very word has the connotations of hopelessness, despair. There's no getting out of it. Out comes all this smoke, and it's going to be described as these locusts. And we will get into that and what that signifies as to the effects of these false religions on the people of this world. So he's given the key to the bottomless pit. He can still open it up. And what is transpiring now as time goes on, and if there is one thing that I could point to, and there's so many, and those who know me well know I can go on and on and on about everything from growing up in a small town in Indiana back in the 60s and what that was like, a place that really was like Mayberry, RFD from the Andy Griffith Show to this day today. And I could talk about so many different things. You can talk politics, you can talk music, arts, entertainment, culture, whatever else. The thing that has been on the decline since then, it's not about anything other than the decline of the proclamation of the pure word of God and that simple and glorious message of salvation through Jesus Christ through grace alone that he loves us and died for us and saved us. That is the bright, shining light. Jesus said, I am the light of the world. What does light do? When scary beasts see the light, what do? They hide. They run. The scary beasts don't want to come out into the light. They hide in the darkness. But as that light diminishes, as its reach gets shorter and shorter and shorter, as the amount of light that is being put out gets smaller and smaller and smaller, the forces of evil, those who seek to promote its cause, come out. If you took the things that are talked about, the way the government is run today, the way entertainment is presented today, and took it back in time, the average person would have seen it for exactly what it is. They would have looked at it. The milkman would have looked at it. He didn't have to be a theologian. The milkman would have looked at it and said, that's satanic. Well, what's going on? I say regularly, if my grandpa came back from, and, boom, was here today in 2025, he'd look at me and said, what'd you do? How'd you mess this all up? How did it get this way? He's been gone 40 years. He'd go, what's happened? He would recognize it as satanic. The world today thinks it's completely normal, completely okay. Why? Because there's this smoke obscuring everything. And those who should proclaim and preach the gospel, Jesus said, I am the light of the world. He also said this in Matthew 5. He said, you, me, you are the light of the world. His light shines through us and we project it. And we need to continue to do that no matter what. It is that light of truth. It is that holding fast to the gospel that spares us the misery, the despair, the woe, that these who fall prey to these terrible, evil machinations of the mind of Satan lead them into total, utter, and complete despair and hopelessness. Those are the things that characterize our world today. Despair and hopelessness, and they laugh and mock the very thing that would free them from all of that, because they're walking in the smoke and they're breathing it, and they don't even recognize it as noxious and toxic. The smoke from the shaft rose smoke like the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened from the smoke from the shaft. So now, and the thing that happens at the very end, we'll go ahead and jump to it because the book gets to it eventually. The thing that happens at the very end, chain goes away. That total depravity, the freedom of evil happens. It's pictured as the two prophets dying in the book of Revelation. And then things get really, really seriously bad at that point in time. We need to be ready for that spiritually so that when we have done all, we can stand, right? But that is how this works, the interplay between the gospel and evil. Why does evil advance? Because people aren't preaching the gospel, not in the numbers they used to, not with the courage and directness and the full power of the gospel. Now, many preachers step before their congregations and actually spend time thinking about what they can't say. All you have to do is look at what transpired with the health crisis that now everybody has admitted was a complete hoax and bogus, that it was created. Everybody just kind of admits that, and nobody could speak anything about it. They let them shut down the churches. Interesting that that's one of the things that got shut down. You can still go to Walmart, couldn't go to church. Okay, let us move on. Then from the smoke came locusts on the earth. And and as we read this, think of the imagery that's here and how we need to understand it. Okay? Good teaching uses pictures that we can use, that we can understand, that have currency with us. Jesus talked to a bunch of people who were agrarian and all grew their own herbs and food and talked about mustard seeds, these things. Okay? Their understanding of what's being talked about is what we want to focus on. Because I'll tell you, locusts, you know how much exposure and real life experience I have with locusts? Zero. Goose egg. None. I see pictures. I see video of what happened in Africa a few years ago, but that's the extent of it. Then from the smoke came locusts on the earth, and they were given power like the power of scorpions of the earth. They were told not to harm the grass of the earth or any green plant or any tree, but only those people who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. They were allowed to torment them for 5 months, but not to kill them, and their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it stings someone. In those days, people will seek death and will not find it. They will long to die, but death will flee from them. What we have here is a graphic depiction of what these false religions do to people. And what you know, for the most part, what we know about these other religions, who teaches it to us? Where do we see it? It's Hollywood. Hollywood. How reliable are they as to the true spiritual state of these other people? Understand this. In Hinduism, the Hindu does not think reincarnation is cool. They think of it, we would call it, an ongoing hell. You might get sent back. You might end up being a dung beetle because you weren't good enough. And it's just a never-ending cycle of misery. There is no peace in that. Okay? That's just one example. From the smoke came locusts on the earth. Locusts, they come and they go. They come and they go. They're here, they're gone. They're here, they're gone. All these different things come along. The number of religions, we think of the great religions, meaning big, hardly call them great, but the great religions, and there are many more with which I'm not familiar that have come and gone throughout the ages with the different empires, whatever else. Okay. We can think of the Maya, the Inca, whatever, off in Asia, the different things that have come and gone, and all we see are the great megalithic structures that they left behind, building in service to the false gods whom they worshipped. Locusts on the earth. Locusts also cover everything. When locusts come, it is misery. You want to really feel low? Pull up the videos of what happened. I don't know if it was 3, 4, 5 years ago in Africa when the locust swarms were moving, and they literally cover everybody, everything. It's just misery. Locusts and misery go hand in hand. And they were given power like the power of scorpions. Why scorpion? Why scorpions? Got a scorpion down here. Most of us don't in the Western world have too much exposure or experience with scorpions. When we used to go vacation in North Carolina, my kids would capture them. They were little brown scorpions. Scorpions, very few scorpions kill you. For the most part, scorpions really hurt and they'll make you really sick, but they don't kill you. And they're scary looking like that. So these locusts everywhere, and they're given the power of scorpions of the earth. And then we're going to see that they don't die. The people don't die. They're just in torment. Okay. They were told not to harm the grass of the earth or any green plant or tree. I think in this picture, that's us. That's us. We're the green, healthy stuff. We're the believers. And what power, these horrible things that hold so much of the world in their hands. Satan controls the souls of so many and has them locked in misery. It has no effect on me other than me feeling sorry for them and the desire to share the gospel with them, that they might be freed from this horrible power. It doesn't hurt us. We're the green trees, the grass of the earth, and the green plants, but only those people who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. And we've talked about this before, Revelation 8:13 that we looked at, saying it's only for those who dwell on the earth, these blasts of the trumpets. And we can think back both in Revelation, where it's talked about those marks being put on people to mark them as gods, but also back to Ezekiel 9, where the man in white linen had the writing case and was going around marking those who were to be spared from destruction. They were allowed to torment them for 5 months. 5 months. This is a one-off. This is the only time that this terminology, this phrase is used with all the numbers, all the time periods, all that. This is the only time that 5 months is used. So how do we understand it? Perhaps it's just that it's not forever, this particular torment. There's torment that follows after that, but it's not forever. And it's still a long time. I mean, if you think about the sickest you've ever been in a physical, the worst illness that you've ever suffered, and having that go on for 5 months, and there are some out there who've had serious ailments that went on that long, and I recognize that, but I'm just trying to make this understandable for the majority of us. That's a long time to be feeling this way, okay? And in those days, how bad is it? And in those days, people will seek death and will not find it. They will long to die, but death will flee from them. And we can think of Hamlet speaking of a dread of something after death that makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. True misery, you'd rather be dead. That often is stated. True misery, you'd rather be dead than endure it. We fail to see, and this is a big takeaway with this, it's a big key to understanding it. We fail to see how spiritually enslaved the lost are, that they can outwardly appear to be at peace. Inwardly, there is no peace. And again, where do our perceptions of these different religions and how they operate and what the people in them are like, for the most part, where does that come from? It comes from Hollywood. Hollywood tells us what we think about everything. The entertainment, also known as disinformation bureau, that is Hollywood, leads us to believe things about the other religions of the world that are not true. Not knowing your eternal death, having no peace about that, results in that's a horse, okay? These horses, they're powerful. These false religions, they're powerful. Think of Islam spreading across the world by force. And on their heads were what looked like crowns. It's like crowns, and crowns of gold. And crowns are for those who rule. They have power. They have might. They're important. They're prestigious is kind of the picture that is here. But their faces are like human faces. They come across as something that we can connect with, right? It's got to be okay. It's coming from another human being. It's got a human face. Their hair like women's hair. But why like women's hair? Why not like my hair? I can tell you why not like my hair. But why like women's hair? It's pretty. It's attractive. Satan sells the same lie that you will be like God, knowing good and evil, because he knows our sinful nature, that we desire to do things on our own. We want to be independent of God. That even lives in the hearts of believers, and he can lead us astray with it. But it's got a human face, and it's got like a woman's hair. It's appealing. It attracts us. How much money, and some of you out there are in marketing, in retail, and the like, how much money is spent on how to get people to choose something by the way it looks. Works with me. Heck, it works with you. You might have picked this video because of the thumbnail. I try to put a lot of effort into thumbnails because thumbnails, it's a pretty package. People will click, people will open, people will put it in their shopping cart and take it to the self-checkout, right? Appearance. Satan knows how to package things. So it's got a human face and a woman's hair, but their teeth are like lion's teeth. Think of teeth. When will you see those teeth? When they decide to use them. Once they get their teeth into you. Think of that dog on the chain in the backyard, the scary dog. Yeah, it's not so bad until it gets its teeth into you. And these teeth are like lion's teeth. Go take a close look. I recommend doing it through photos online. Google lion's teeth and how big they are. And once they get a hold of you, that's it. They have breastplates like breastplates of iron. How might we understand that? What was a breastplate? Nothing seems to stop some of these religions. They're impervious to attack. They just continue to advance and advance and advance. And a breastplate of iron is going to prevent the wearer from taking any arrows that are going to get into their vitals that are going to do them harm. They just continue to advance, and the noise of their wings, thinking of that, the noise of their wings, you can hear a swarm of locusts. You can hear it. You can hear it coming from a long way off. And maybe part of the picture there is it's inevitable. They're coming and there is no stopping it. They're going to pick the earth clean. They'll eat everything until it's gone. So the noise of their wings was like the noise of many chariots with horses. When the children of Israel were up against the Red Sea with their backs to the Red Sea, and Pharaoh and his army came against them with all those chariots, they could feel the ground move. A whole lot of horses, a whole lot of marching from humans, and the wheels, the iron wheels of those chariots, they were at least iron on the outside of the wheels. You could feel it coming. You knew. You could gauge the size of the force arrayed against you coming to bear just by what you felt in the ground. So these are powerful things. They're powerful things. They have Satan as their promoter. Okay. They have tails and stings like scorpions, and their power to hurt people for 5 months is in their tails. That's a reminder also that all of this power that Satan has, that he wields, that he uses, it's temporary. It's temporary. It doesn't seem that way to us, but my perspective, it's pretty limited. One of the nice things about getting older is perspective. You have a longer perspective on things. It really does give you a different understanding, a different way to look at things. But perspective here, it's important to remember that while these things have been going on way before my time, and they will continue going on, they do have an end. And who runs it all? Who is in charge of it all? They have as king over them the angel of the abyss. The abyss. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek, Apollyon. Both those names mean destroyer, and Hebrew and Greek. And here these things are talked about as being personified, as people. Okay. They are used as places, but it's also the name of these spiritual entities. And that's what he's saying. Satan, you want to know what he's all about? It's right here. It's right here. He is the destroyer. What is it that you have heard me say on numerous occasions? Satan hates everything God loves. Satan seeks to destroy everything that God loves. And we can go through the list, as we did when we looked at the first 4 trumpets and the destruction of this world, this earth, that is emphasized again in chapter 11, verse 18, that God is going to destroy the destroyers of the earth. But he hates everything about God's creation. We are part of that. And he seeks to destroy any hope of a relationship with the Heavenly Father, because he has rebelled against him and he wants to drag all of us down with him. Now, this has been some heavy stuff, and we could have talked about it for a good deal longer. It's been some heavy stuff. When we read this kind of stuff and we understand it, describing what it does, the spiritual despair that holds fast the world around us, don't just focus on this. Focus on what you have. First of all, that you're spared from this, not allowed to touch us with this stuff, but it should make us appreciate also all the more the peace that we have, the salvation that is ours, that though we are rebellious, though we are sinful, miserable wretches, in God's grace that is greater than his desire to condemn, the necessity that he has to condemn us because he is a just and righteous God, greater still is his love for us, that he sent his son to die for us, and that he waged war, spiritual war, offered himself up on the altar of the cross to pay our price so that we are freed from all of this. And he has marked us with his name so that we cannot be harmed by this. We always need to, when we're looking at this heavy stuff, put it in perspective, the yet bigger picture of the grace, the mercy, the salvation that is ours. The first woe has passed. Behold, 2 woes are still to come. Let us be thankful that we're freed from these woes. These woes don't apply to us. And thank God that what is for the unbeliever, the people of the earth, the last woe, God's return, Jesus' return, is no woe for us. It is that which we look forward to and celebrate and long for. We're going to stop there. We'll pick up next time with that 6th angel and the next trumpet. This is Micaiah 76. Together, we are decoding the deception. God bless and have a great day.